Hello and welcome back to Fantasy Turf War, the coolest fantasy football league on the planet. Before we get started, sometimes we have a note from our Commissioner Cory, but he's busy on assignment at the moment. So, Cory, we hope you're staying warm. This is Season 2, Episode 18, overall, our 94th episode, and there's tons to talk about. So let me bring in my partners of crime. That would be Susan, the Gridiron Goddess, and Adam from Fantasy Couriers. Welcome.
What's up?
Hey,
Susan, introduce yourself. We missed you last week.
I know I'm back, and let me tell you, I woke up. I live in Texas. I woke up at 1:30 Texas time to catch a 4 a.m. Texas flight to come home. I was on the East Coast, so it was a 5 a.m. flight, but I am like chugging through here. So, but we're good. We're here, and I'm excited to be here and talk some fantasy football.
All righty. Adam, welcome.
What's up?
What's up?
Another Tuesday night. I always look forward to this. This is my grueling part of the week. I got a busy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but this is just the greatest part. I can't sleep Tuesday nights because I'm so excited. So it works out that I just go for this and I just waiver wire for a while. And it's a great way to basically wrap a one fantasy week and get into the next.
Yeah. And of course, with the intro song, it just kind of gets you upbeat a little bit, kind of getting you into the groove, So,
Yeah.
awesome. We have a full crew here for our friends at home listening. Welcome. We are streaming live on several platforms. We appreciate you being with us. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the show for our trivia segment. We'll announce our winner and give you the next trivia question. This week, week 5, and no more unbeatens in the NFL. Once again, the 1972 Dolphins can raise a toast to a perfect season that has not been matched since that time. Buffalo, Philadelphia, both lost this week. But big wins included Jacksonville in a stunner Monday night after Kansas City went up by 4 with less than a minute to go. I watched that game. That's a wild finish. 49ers with a decimated team. They won in overtime against the Rams. Did not see that one coming. And then for teams that we had probably written off, many other people probably did too. Houston, Tennessee, Carolina, New Orleans, all won. So all that and more to highlight in this week's episode entitled No More Unbeatens, Week 5 Shockers and Fantasy Impacts. And we're going to try to help this break down for you. So let's dive right in. So again, no more unbeaten teams in the NFL. You guys both have a lot of fantasy teams. So do you guys still have any teams that are unbeaten still after week 5? Adam?
I do. I have one team. We were talking about it prior to the show, but it's a team that I've been building for years. It's my very first dynasty league, actually. I think the year was 2008. Is that Adrian Peterson's rookie year? It's all I remember. That's the year we started. That's my marquee stuff. He was my second. It was my second round pick in it. So this league's been around for years. So I've broken it down, built it back up, and this team is rocking Josh Allen, Achane, McCaffrey, Chase, Puka, Kelsey, Bill, Waddle, Javonte Williams with, like Hubbard and Sutton and Mason and Brown on the bench with Waller. So we are I'm 160 points better than the second highest scoring team. So that means I'm going to blow in the playoffs. Everybody's going to get hurt.
That's a massive point differential per week. If you break it down by week, you're up, 30 points better than the average every week.
Yeah.
That's, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in that league. Not with that. Susan,
That's
you've
awesome.
got a lot of teams too. Still any unbeatens yet, or have you succumbed?
No, I am not. But in Fantasy Turf War, which, as a reminder, Adam and I are in the same division. I am in third place with a 4-1 record. And my one loss has, and for those of you who don't know, we're playing in the league, right? And if you lose, you get a condolence card. So I got my condolence card, not for this week, but for last week. So I'm going to open this up so y'all can see what these look like. All right. So it says, sorry for your loss. It's okay to cry, just not publicly. Cory with a little DK Metcalf sticker.
I got one. I'm just sorry. I'm just so sorry. It's like you didn't lose. You just apparently donated a win. But I got a cute little T-Law sticker on the back of mine, so that's cool. I got that going for me. But I only have one. I only have one card because I only have one loss in our division as well.
Me too. Adam, how many do you have?
Well, I guess the mail hasn't come yet. I've got my week one, which is a cool chicken. Sorry for your loss, week one, Cory, and I got a Joko sticker. This one just came today. It's the one like yours. Sorry for. It's okay to cry. It's not publicly a Kyler Murray, and he put a Raiders on there. But we were looking prior. The good news for me in our division, I'm 1-4 with the second highest point total in the division.
Oh,
so
nice.
The fantasy gods are not happy with me right now. But if they can just twinkle a little fantasy god magic on me, whoosh, here we go.
So the other league that I'm in third place is we have the league median. So I'm 7-3 to be in third place for the league median, which for those of you who don't know, league median is where you literally the middle score. And so you get either 2 wins, 2 losses, or 1-1. So you get your actual head-to-head matchup, and then you get the matchup versus the league median. So it helps really, it would help Adam out in this case because he would get the points for beating the league median. But so we're doing all right. I'm middle of the road and a lot of the others. I have one league that I haven't won yet, and the team should be very good. It's just there are studs who are not performing this season like you expected them to. So, and it's a dynasty league, and it is bad.
Again, I have one loss in Fantasy Turf War. I have been getting extremely lucky putting up huge points at the right times. Take out probably the two, I would consider the 2 best teams in the league. I just took out back-to-back weeks. So you guys are good. You know who you are. I feel lucky. But I've got a pretty good team, one of my other leagues. But the other ones, not so much. But again, I'm not trying to win the division at this point in time. I'm just trying to get my wins underneath my belt, get into the playoffs, and then I can probably do some damage there as long as the players are back. But
that's a turf war challenge. You got to get top 2, whereas in the rest of the leagues,
that is
top
true.
2. I might be in trouble with 4 losses already, but in other leagues, I can get back up. You need to go 7-7, 8-6, probably 6-8 in some leagues, depending on how strong the top is. You only need that. You got to be what the NFC West used to be, right? Where they would win like a couple of years, or like a bad team that got in.
Get back into the playoffs because you had less losses than somebody else. Yeah, not because you're good. Yeah, but in the NFL this past week, boy, did the Bills loss or the Eagles loss surprise either one of you? Bills lost a high-scoring game with New England, a division rival, and Eagles lost to Denver after a huge lead. Should we be surprised about those things, or was it bound to happen at some point in time? Susan?
I think the one that comes back to me is like the Bills. They tend to get these 1-score games, right? Last year, the Chiefs were winning 1-score games.
Yeah.
That's how they won forward. And so these 1-score games, it comes down to it. And I am surprised that New England won with the fact that Ramondre was fumbling the way he is, and they just won't bench him. Like they're not giving the rookie the ball, and I don't know. We'll see if they keep going. The problem is they're winning. They're doing well with whatever they're doing now. And so I don't know that much is going to change, even though we all want to see Henderson get his shot. But so that is a little surprising to me with the lack of ball control.
It's almost as if they don't want to give the ball to Henderson for some reason. I don't know. I mean, if you're in the inner circle, you'd probably have the right answer about why haven't they made that shift, or why do they still trust Ramondre after some costly fumbles in that game. But Adam,
that's it. The Bills Patriots is not as shocking because I've seen the Patriots play. It's Drake May. Like Drake May is going to be that guy that I was not a big fan of Drake May, but he looks
good.
He looks really good.
He's that dual threat quarterback. He can move, he can pass. And I saw the writing on the wall. I didn't grab enough shares, but I got some prior. But he said 2 weeks ago, I'm not throwing to Stephon Diggs. Since that 2 weeks ago, Stephon Diggs, I talked about it, but I didn't pull up his stats, but his targets have been, I think, double digits the last 2 weeks. So Stephon Diggs, if you
he's coming on.
He's coming to the moon. he's owned in a bunch of leagues, but he was drafted super late. So he's owned high, but his draft stock was super late, which is amazing. But I thought the Eagles looked absolutely putrid. I don't know how Jalen Hurts had 245 yards. When I pulled the stats up, I was shocked. We were talking about him on the Couriers on Sunday because watching the game, it looked terrible. It looked like the Eagles were not in that game. They weren't there. They didn't want to play football that week, but somehow he got those points. So it confused me, but because they just did not look good. When the two stud receivers aren't, I mean, they're getting targets. They looked a little better than before. Saquon did about what I thought he might do this year. Like he's getting enough touches, but he's not RB1, but he's not total trash. I didn't think he'd be total trash, but the Eagles neither that one surprised me because they were supposed to be good, but I don't know. Like it's the NFL these days, and as a Dolphins fan, I always like when those unbeatens lose.
Yeah, and Philadelphia has been in that top 5 power rankings for pretty much most of the season here. Even though they just haven't put all the pieces together, they will be scary if they ever can figure that out. But Jalen Hurts actually threw for quite a few yards this time, but I think a lot of it was distorted on some of the longer passes, like the Saquon. But you're also not getting A.J. Brown involved as much as you should have been at this point in time. So I really am not sure where that identity of that team is. But you can't go into a game and have such a big lead and all of a sudden blow it somehow. And that's exactly what Philadelphia did. That was the biggest surprise of the 2 games there. New England, I had a feeling they played a toe-to-toe with Buffalo. Wasn't sure they'd pull the game out, but Drake May just had a great game, and it was the revenge game of Stephon Diggs. So he
Did you see
he
that
made
picture?
it a quest to destroy them, and he did.
Yeah. The thing that like I had a thought and it's gone, but it's like the Cardinals game. I mean, the Cardinals.
That was terrible.
Embarrassing.
Bad.
I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. It was.
I mean, 3 of the craziest plays ever. Like, I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, you got the dropped ball on the quarter-foot line, and then
I don't understand how players are still doing that. What are you doing? Why? You would think they would have learned after Jonathan Taylor, like 2 years ago, dealt with all of the ridicule and whatever.
Yep.
And it has happened, what, 3 times this season now or something?
It's
what
crazy.
are you doing?
Did you see the interception?
Ball.
That
no,
was
I didn't see it.
There was an interception by the Cardinals. Dude intercepted the ball, caught it, fumbled the ball, and then the Titans scored. That's how they scored.
I saw that
landed
play.
On it in the zone.
They landed on. Was that Lockett landed on the end zone?
Yes, it was Lockett.
It was the wildest game ever. I started rooting for the Titans, and I've got a bunch of Cardinal shares of guys, but I was like, I just want to see the Titans win this game because I like Cam Ward for some reason. But
maybe he'll put it together a full game. I don't know, but if anything, it may have given him just a little shot of confidence. But speaking of those guys and others similar to that, there are a lot of 1-4 teams out there. But what do you make of the 1-4 Ravens? I mean, do they even have a prayer to get to the playoffs this year, or is that schedule and the injuries too much to overcome? I know it's only in week 5 right now, or we just got past it, but to me, they seem like they're deep in trouble. What's your take, Susan?
So the thing about the injuries is that, like, San Francisco's doing it.
Oh, that's
They're
true.
injured. There's another team that is 4-1 that also is dealing with injuries.
Tampa,
thank you.
Yeah.
Like, it just it can be done if you have the players behind and you have like invested in your backups that can carry your team. And clearly that has not been the case with the Ravens. I mean, they've been trying to make Keenan Mitchell a thing for a long time, right? Like he's been like a fantasy darling for the start of the season. Like, this is it. He's going to get his breakout. It's been like 3 years or something.
Yeah. It has.
And like, they just can't seem to develop the players behind their stars. And that problem is coming home to roost for them.
Any hope for the Ravens, Adam? Or do you put
the
a fork
hope
on them?
they have is that their division isn't super. I mean, the Steelers are the good team in the division, and
Yeah.
they're catchable. It depends how far. I mean, the Ravens are Lamar and built around him, and guys are successful with Lamar. And it's one of those things where it's like tough. If Josh Allen goes down, I think the Bills have the same problem. You lose Brock Purdy, he's not Lamar. He's a good, really, really good NFL quarterback. In Tampa, they just drafted so good to get Ibuka, or else they'd be totally dead.
Oh yeah,
and
Yeah.
and that's really they're saving their team totally. So, and I mean, the 49ers, they're just so well coached, it's ridiculous. And Ravens are well coached. It's just been injury after. I mean, the defense, it's like a triage unit. And without Lamar, they're going to put every guy in the box. Because I mean, are you really worried about Cooper Rush throwing on you? Let him.
but he had some good. He had some good games playing for Dallas's backup. I mean, he carried that team when Prescott was out. So I thought, wow, what a great backup he is. And then you see him play the last weekend, and it's like, oh, not good.
Well, their O-line has injuries too.
Yes.
So that's not helping. That's not helping a backup quarterback, and it's also not helping Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry will pound the ground when they're winning, and he can take off for a long run. I mean, we've seen him do it this season.
Oh yeah.
But that's not his forte. You know what I mean? You're not getting a big long run every single game. That's just not what he does. But the O-line is going to be a problem as well.
Oh yeah, and the game script is that if the Ravens get down by double digits, they pull Henry. That's everybody knows that's going to happen. You know, it's like, so you ride or die with King Henry in that situation. But and then I also saw a recent rumor, actually today, that Mark Andrews could be available for trade. So that's not a good indication if you're starting to think about a fire sale of the team. So who's to say? That's more to come on that. But boy, Ravens, they've got to turn that thing around. Otherwise, this is going to be a very, very long and dismal season. Adam, we were talking before this show and even after last week's show that you are, of course, a contributor to Fantasy Pros. But tell us a little bit about what's going on there with some of your rankings.
Ooh, week 4 was fun. We always get to check them after the show's off. But week 4, I was not just a dumb luck, I guess, but I was the #1 Fantasy Pros expert for wide receivers that week. Dozens and dozens of people saw my rankings. Oh. Thank you, Puka Nakua. That's all I gotta say. Like, I just put Puka always on top. But yeah, it was kind of cool, and it led, like, every week I do a contribution. It's been a fun Fantasy Pros week because this has been one of my better years. I'm still trying to figure out, like, rankings are hard because if you hit one injury, if one guy goes down and you have him higher than other guys, because to be higher in the rankings, you got to take some of those risks. You got to get right that Kendrick Bourne was going to be a good player. Yeah. And if you don't, if you're the guy that gets him right, yeah, you're #1. So I didn't even look back to see who it was that put me over that edge. But I also do a contribution each week and buy low, sell high kind of guy. And I put a buy low article about Jalen Waddle, which actually, I forgot to tell you this part. It was the first segment written up in the whole article. And then they featured me on X with a quote, and people trolls went bonkers because everybody hates Jalen Waddle except for us Dolphins fans and a couple people that like fantasy and know he's a good player. So I didn't say much else. A couple guys asked some fantasy questions. I put notes in there, and then I just waited. And Sunday at about 4:00, I just put a meme at the end of it with a guy dropping a mic after my boy showed out. I mean, if he played defense, that would have been more useful. But
that's all you needed after the naysayers of Waddle, for sure. Wow, what a great opening. We have so much more we want to talk about today, but let us first put in a shameless plug for our partner, Alpha Clash.
All right. Let's take a quick time out to shout out our partners at Alpha Clash, the indie comic book trading card game that turns every match into a lore-driven battle for glory. In the Alpha Clash universe, super-powered contenders collide in a fast-paced game that perfectly blends fun and competition. Build your deck, unleash devastating abilities, and outmaneuver your opponent in a game that's as much about brains as it is about bold moves. The artwork will pull you in, the gameplay will keep you coming back, and a growing global community awaits. Head to alphaclashtcg.com and start your journey today. That's alphaclashtcg.com. It's time to enter the clash. Alpha Clash has also generously donated booster packs where you at home can win today in our trivia contests.
Awesome. So yet another week behind us in fantasy football. Bye weeks have begun. Injuries continue. This is going to be a repeating theme, I think, for most of the weeks coming up here. But probably the most notable new injury and major impact would be that of Amarian Hampton, the running back for the Chargers, who were already down Najee Harris. So last week, when Susan was not with us, we spun around a topic I think is worth a bit of a rehash here. So with bye weeks and injuries, let's go around the table. What are your one or two pieces of advice for fantasy football owners to take away as we approach week 6?
My one piece of advice is to prepare for week 8.
I was going to say that.
Wow. Great minds think alike.
So week 8 is this year's Bipocalypse. In fact, in the Gridiron Goddess Games tournament, one of the extra prizes that I'm doing is whoever gets the highest score specifically in week 8, because there are so many teams on bye and so many fantasy relevant players that you are going to be starting your waiver wire guys, and you need to be thinking about that and looking at your roster now and take your shot so that you're not dropping a ton of fab on or using your waiver priority after week 7 to get the guy that everybody's going to want, because everybody needs players. Go get that person that you need now.
Love the advice. And Adam, anything else to contribute or rehash from last week? There are some good lessons you had last week that I think are worth sharing too.
Couple to follow up with her to give that answer that everybody's wondering, who are we talking about? The Cardinals, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Seahawks. That's half of the great wide receivers, and a handful of really good running backs. So my
I didn't
advice,
have the list up.
Yeah, I happened to pull it up because I was going to say the same thing, because I pulled it. I was like, oh my gosh. But is don't freak out. You're going to have these weeks and just scour the waiver wire. I had a team where my entire bench this week, a couple teams, I think there were 2 teams. My entire bench was bye week and these freaky, crazy Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, random last minute injuries. Yeah. So you just got to play them smart, but don't be foolish. Some people be like, oh, look, he's not playing. He's hurt. I've got to cut him so I can fill in a bye week player. Think smart. Like you do this. The thing is, you do. There's fantasy. What is it? Would it be fantasy football honor ethics? You need to field a team. So if you got to drop some guy, you do it because that's what you're supposed. Like that's the right thing to do. I don't know what else, because it's for the integrity of the league. We sound like politicians or something, but think strategically how you're doing it. I mean, we both, Susan and I, we both started Sean Tucker this week. I started Jalen Tolbert. That was a big kick in the butt. But try to look at your rosters where you got those spots. And I might be okay week 8. I got to go look because week 5 just murdered me. It was terrible. Maybe I had too many bears. I don't know why.
Go make trades. If you can package people to make trades to get past where you can, if you do it right, you can skip a bye week. Where it's you end up not having somebody on your team who has a bye week. So you've got 2 weeks until the Bipocalypse. Go start making those trade deals now when people aren't necessarily thinking about it.
Yeah, that's all great advice. We talked about a lot of those things last week. I didn't want the week to go by without giving you the opportunity to weigh in on that as well, Susan. So thanks for contributing there.
Thank you.
I'm not as worried about week 8 because what I did is I drafted depth. I have 4 or 5 starting running backs, so I already have what I need to cover certain key areas. And so I'm not as worried about week 8 or 9 as some of the average bears might be at this point in time. But not to say that we don't have to play the game. You still do. You still got to put up your lineup. But week in, week out, I always say scour the waiver wires. What can make your team better? And look down the road. If you notice that somebody's on a bye week, is there somebody else nobody's targeting to pick up? Might be an opportune time to do it. But definitely do not mortgage the farm just to win 1 week. Put in your best lineup, but don't sacrifice the future to do it, though, I think would be my advice. So, all right, great discussion there. And as always, we encourage viewer participation. Feel free to chime in on any of the streaming platforms we're on with any topics we're talking about. Don't be shy. Agree with us, disagree with us. It's all good here. If you have a question about a trade, a start or sit situation, or or do you just need to take a player on a team or not? Or should you pass on them? It's all fair game here. Any question's a good question. So each week we've been discussing a few players on if we trust them or are we playing the guessing game with using them. And so perhaps there are situations or durations we might feel comfortable with, and others we just simply want to bench for now. So let's work through a few new names to our list. And do you trust them or not in the short term or long term? Or is this somebody you panic on? And the first one that I offered up probably should never make any of these kinds of lists, but he's here. Derrick Henry, running back from Baltimore. And if you look at the fantasy points, again, standard scoring, the last 4 weeks, 2, 9, 4, and 2 points. Again, we just talked about the Baltimore Ravens. There are a lot of people who have a share of Derrick Henry, but do you worry? Do you panic? Do you still field him? Susan, thoughts?
I mean, my only thing is you probably don't have anybody better to start. So you drafted Derrick Henry at the beginning of the second round, probably end of the first, and there's nobody else that you're going to be starting because he can go off. Looking at the strength of schedule for the rest of the season, they're at the bottom half, so it's not great for running backs for the rest of the way. Hopefully Lamar can come back so that there's sooner rather than later, so that defenses have to account for Lamar as well running and not just Henry. But I think in this case you have to trust him. It might hurt you, but you're not benching Derrick Henry for somebody from the waiver wire.
Yep.
Adam, play him or not?
I've got to play him. I've got him in 1, 2, 3 teams. I had one night where I had 2 drafts. So it was the Fantasy Turf Wars night. I ended up I drafted him within 2 minutes of each other in 2 drafts. But you there's the old fantasy adage: you play your studs. The week you don't play Derrick Henry, he goes back to that week 1, 169 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he has fallen into the end zone 4 times this year. So that is the saving grace for him, and he is still part Android, so he's fallen over some people, and hopefully Lamar comes. The Lamar statement's true. If Lamar comes back, I think he's going to be back. He won't be that guy that we thought could teeter with those top guys without the catch catching, but you're playing him. Now I'm excited.
Yeah, this is the very dilemma that I've got as well. To what extent do you trust them? We've talked about other players on prior weeks. Can you trust them? Do you trust them? For how long? But again, Derrick Henry, one of those players you probably should not panic over at this point in time, even though the situation may not look good. But I will tell you guys that in the fantasy turf war, I do have 3 other big dogs I'm probably going to play before King Henry this week. I know that's probably not going the right trend. When you've got,
but you drafted that way, you drafted your team with the ability to do that.
Yes,
not everybody. You did that on purpose.
Not everybody did.
Not everybody else.
Very good point.
Not everybody else did that.
Yeah, I've got Josh Jacobs, I've got Kyron Williams, and I've also got the next guy we're going to talk about as well as Derrick Henry. So I am deep on running backs. So there are some storms I can weather, but boy, Derrick, please show up sometime, please. I don't want to have to bench you. Let's go on to the next guy. I like to start calling him Wild Bill after one of the band members from Dawkins. But this is Bill Krusky Merritt, running back, Washington. And if you can believe it, 3 of the 4 weeks, he had scored less than 10. We're looking at 2, 9, and 5, and then explodes for 25 points this past week. Adam, you're big on Wild Bill. Talk to us.
I've been a Bill man from day one. I've been on that train riding since May, and I just was trying to figure out when the people in Washington were going to figure out. Chris Rodriguez has been there for years. He's a good ancillary piece. Jeremy McNichols, he's a good ancillary piece. Had a really good run a few weeks ago. Spectacular run. But Bill has showed it in his last year of college, the last 1 game, and then when in the preseason was Murderers Row. Came into the league. I mean, week 1 he had 8.2 yards per carry. Week 2, 4.3 yards per carry, but he only got 4 carries. Week 3, he got 8 carries. It wasn't as great versus the Raiders, but then he comes on last week, 7 for 47, 6.7 per carry, 7.9 this week per carry. you play this young, energetic kid, like he just looks like he's having fun, which is gonna take some of that pressure off. I was so excited because I had 4 screens on going back and forth. Ran out to take care of something real quick, and then I was like, "Oh, Bill's caking off." I'm so and then they keep playing him because when he in Atlanta, it seemed like when he had like something good, they're like, "Okay, Rodriguez, your turn." They were just sort of not giving him the full fledged. And once he got that first touchdown for against the Chargers, it was like, open the gates. Here we go. Meet the new RB1 in DC.
So, Susan, do you buy that? Is it time to start trusting Wild Bill?
I almost think you have to at this point. They've given Rodriguez the chance, right? And he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. I had to start him with Sean Tucker. I was telling him about it was him and Chris Rodriguez and Sean Tucker. And when I checked in on the box scores, I was traveling, so I wasn't able to like watch the game. But I thought Chris Rodriguez had been benched again because he hadn't scored anything. Like he hadn't even gotten it. He was not on the stats sheet yet. Right. So I was like, crap, did I start somebody that got benched and I didn't realize it, that they were a healthy scratch? Because it's happened to him.
Oh, yeah.
So they do not have faith in Rodriguez. And McNichols got some of that pass catching work. And I think he may maintain that role. But RB1 and DC, yep.
It's interesting because
go with it.
Just 2 weeks ago, they openly said, we're going to run 3 running back by committee. It's like, okay. And then the numbers showed it. It's like, yeah, I don't know. But then when people have injuries and you've got to be forcing people into lineups, I was fortunate. I did play Wild Bill, and he helped me, obviously. So I actually believe that with the production that he turned up with this past weekend, you have to endorse him at this point if you're Washington. You have to, because this kid is too good, too quick, too much energy, like you said, Adam. And even in the post-game show, it looked like just a little kid having fun. You know, he just had that energy and excitement that he was being interviewed by Tom Brady, and it's like, that's so cool to see that you can still be young and have that kind of energy and still be eyes wide open and still new to the experience. That was fun just to watch that all unfold. All right, let's move on to a receiver. This is an interesting person because he's gotten a lot of notoriety in terms of what he's done in college, and also getting a lot of props in terms of what he could do, but doesn't necessarily translate. We're talking about Tet McMillan, wide receiver from Carolina. Last 4 fantasy weeks, standard scoring 10, 5, 6, 7. So not a lot of productivity. What do you think about this, Susan? Trust him or not?
I think Carolina's coming on, and the standard scoring here, when you're talking about, is important. He's scoring way better than that when you're looking at PPR. I have him. I think I only have him in one place, but I am confident. I am starting him every week, and I feel confident to do so. So I think you can keep trusting that. The team is coming on. They're starting to mesh. They're starting to gel. The last 2 weeks, they've had a really good showing. So I think you can trust him.
9, 10, 8, 8, 8. Those are his targets every week.
Yeah.
So they are pushing up there, and he looks big. He looks strong. So I mean, I'd say most people probably you're paying. Most leagues these days are half PPR. So he got 6 receptions this last week. So that's 3 points and 73 yards. There's 10 points. That's his floor.
Yeah,
probably close to where his floor is going to be. He had the dud against Atlanta, but so did everybody in Carolina. We are gambling. I mean, we're starting him because he's a good player. We're gambling on Bryce Young, which is what's going to happen, like the Atlanta game where they just got lambasted. But I think he's a guy you should feel confident starting unless you have that super depth. Like I have him on a team, which is a dynasty team, and my receivers are so good that I am letting his growing pains, and he's flexing into my bye week. So he's not at that yet, but he will be eventually. Because I mean, I hadn't watched him play as specifically as I did this week, and he looks so good.
Yeah, I've never had a chance.
Fantasy Pros does have Carolina's strength of schedule for wide receivers as number 1.
Oh, wow.
So
That is impressive.
So for the rest of the season, he should be in a good
A
spot
go-to
with
guy.
matchups.
Yeah, and he is the go-to receiver on that team. Make no mistake about it. So if you're looking at standard scoring versus half PPR or full PPR, big difference because he is getting a lot of looks. He is getting a lot of receptions, and so it's a matter of can he turn that into some big gains? Can he turn it into touchdowns? Can he actually turn the corner when it comes to fantasy production? I think there's nothing but the sky is the limit when it comes to McMillan. I think it's going to be capped, though, by Bryce Young. However he's doing, that's going to be leader of the team, and the rest of the team will follow. So
they're playing Dallas this week, though. So.
Yeah, I know. Everybody should have a good game. Everybody
should be
have a good game.
a good start for week 6.
Thanksgiving comes early for some teams. Yeah,
Did that hurt to say? I understand.
Yeah. Cowboys are my team, but I will make no qualms about it. The team is not that great, and when they womped up on the Jets this past weekend, it was the Jets. So enough said. So let's talk about who I think a lot of people thought would be at least top 3 tight end, and even number 1 in most people's cases. If it's not Bowers, it was going to be Trey McBride, tight end from Arizona. And again, hasn't been really all that productive this year. Standard scoring, of course, 10, 8, 5, and 4 points for the last 4 weeks. But again, he's getting a lot of catches. Adam, thoughts about Trey? I know you like him, but do you trust him?
You got to keep playing him. I mean, he's got target share almost like Tet there. And the difference is just a couple yards. I mean, they're actually fairly similar from going from McMillan's stats to him, and he's a tight end. So tight ends, you're either gambling on that touchdown. The top tight end for the week is whoever that lucky dude is who we'll talk about later who caught 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Or this guy who's getting 7 or more targets every single week and even got double-digit targets against Seattle the other week. So it's just a matter of if he's getting the targets with the PPR, and which you really need some tight end bonus leagues, tight end premium leagues, and then it's gonna come through. Like, I'm not overly worried about him. If you got him, you're playing him because generally you don't drag in a couple tight ends unless you pulled Waller off the scrap heap. Then I might play Waller over him because I did see the push there for him. But with that target share, he's going to fall into the end zone, which is what we need from tight ends.
Same page, Susan?
Yeah, I worry about Arizona's in general. Their defense is not great, and it just doesn't feel like they've been able to keep up. I don't know how long Gannon is going to keep his job.
Yeah.
I think things are not good. So we'll see. Maybe they'll fire him midseason and bring somebody new in, and there's that bump, and they can start using their generational talent wide receiver and their generational talent tight end to actually do something. Because this isn't all Kyler. Like,
nope.
Kyler can be hit or miss, but this is not all his fault. I think the team is being not well managed.
And now they've become under a microscope because of it.
Right. And so I worry about that aspect of it. But again, you drafted him so high that I don't know that you can be starting somebody else.
Yeah. And it's probably not necessarily the news that a lot of fantasy owners want to hear is stick with them. Because we've done that for so many players that have just disappointed us, flat out disappointed us all season long. AJ Brown, Mark Andrew. I mean, they'll have a good game here or there, but I mean, the only thing I think that saves McBride, but especially in a half PPR or PPR league, is the number of catches. He is going to get the touches because there's only really 2 mouths to feed if you're talking receivers, probably. But then now with Kyler potentially being hurt right now, puts even some of that stuff further into jeopardy there. So, all right, great discussions. Now let's move on to our waiver wire segment. Who might be out from injury, who's out because of a bye. Let's first break down who the bye teams are. Coming up week 6, it's going to be the Texans and the Vikings. So Only 2 teams, not much damage there. And then week 7, the bye teams, Buffalo, Baltimore, probably much needed for both of those teams. And as we alluded to before, week 8 is really the eye of the storm. So you want to prepare, button down the hatches. So yet again, we've got a sizable list of players you want to keep tabs on. You may have them on your roster, or you might be looking for somebody to pick up because somebody is going to be hurt. So that list of injuries continues to grow. J.J. McCarthy might be coming back soon, might be practicing. Lamar Jackson's going to be out for a little bit. Kyler Murray, check on his status. Carson Wentz, Brock Purdy, Jackson Dart. So it's a pretty sizable list of notable starters at this point. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb should be getting closer. I think maybe a couple weeks away. Evans from Tampa, probably closer than that. Jennings and Pearsall, probably put them in the same bucket, but right now they're not saying a lot about either one of those guys. Slayton now on IR, I believe, or if he's not, he might be heading there. McLaurin might be coming back soon, and Mooney coming back soon. So again, if you got any share of those guys, watch the news, watch your favorite streaming website for all that kind of stuff to figure out what is going on with your players. Running backs, Tracy, Bucky Irving, Jalen Warren, Marion Hampton just got put on IR. Rico Dowdle popped up on the report. Antonio Gibson gone for the season, and then Chuba Hubbard, which allowed Ricky Dowdle to go off last week. Tight ends, Jatavian Sanders, Brock Bowers coming up as questionable, and then Brenton Strange just put on IR. And if you are looking at streaming kickers, avoid Indianapolis. Maybe Schrader from Indianapolis is going to be hurt for a little bit of time, but they also score a lot of points. So let's talk about options. And at home, always your situation is going to be dictating who or if you even should pick up any of these players. But there are a lot of options out there, rostered under 50%. But even having said that, there are still probably players rostered between 50 and 80% that might be viable options for you. So as always, post in our chat feeds any player you're wondering about. If we are not calling out those names when we go through our list of 50% rostered or lower, we'll give you our takes. And again, keep in mind, this is 50% rostered or below. So we're going to start in with the quarterback listing. And it's a pretty good list, pretty sizable list this time. Looking at names like Trevor Lawrence, Jackson Dart, J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold, Tua, Penix, Aaron Rodgers, and Dylan Gabriel. So, Susan, any of those names call out to you that if you had your rathers, you'd pick up that one?
Yes. So I don't understand why Sam Darnold is not more rostered. I think even in single quarterback leagues, it is smart to carry a second quarterback that you could throw in and not have to worry about if somebody gets injured. If you were the Lamar manager and you happen to have Sam Darnold on your bench, you were fine. You didn't have to go scramble and pick up Carson Wentz. You didn't have to scramble to go decide if you needed to pick up Cooper Rush, to start Cooper Rush instead of Lamar. So starting 2 quarterbacks, even in a 1 quarterback league, is smart strategy. And Sam Darnold is producing. He looks good in Seattle's system. He looked good in the Viking system, and now that is transferring. Last year we were like, I don't know, it's Sam Darnold? Is it really the real deal? And we were like that all season. And it's kind of repeating that same idea here in Seattle. Well, he is supporting the people around him. He's doing what he needs to do. I would like the turnovers to be a little less, but he looks good. And starting him, they're on a bye oh no, never mind. When is Seattle's bye? In my brain, I just want the Vikings are on a bye this
not
week.
For a few weeks. Not for a few weeks.
Okay.
Week 8, they're part of the death. They're part of the deadly week.
They're part of the death.
Zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be wary of that, but he should be on rosters to be started if you need somebody.
Adam, anybody off this list call to you?
I'm going back to the greatest player coming in NFL since sliced bread back in 2021, and that was Trevor Lawrence. He was supposed to be the greatest thing in the world, and he's just that dude. we're gonna find. Like, I think we're getting to that point where we're finding out: is it him, or is it the? He was terribly coached to start his career, and he just went through some messes there. And in the game the other night, sometimes it's a gut feeling watching a guy, and my gut is going with the way that game ended. Feels like a springboard for Trevor Lawrence. The somehow, like, we looked at it, like, Trevor Lawrence. Whoa. I mean, that's why he's only 41% rostered, and but we had like this yuck feeling for Trevor Lawrence. They are 4-1. Trevor Lawrence ran in that last touchdown. Talk about a springboard for confidence.
That was an amazing play. It's like, oh no.
It's like, oh no, but he's like, I just won the game, beat the chest, go to next week. We took out the Bills. We took out the Chiefs. We are 4-1. We are rocking and rolling. And I can just see this doing this. I mean, he's got Brian Thomas Jr., who's so underwhelmed this year. I mean, the team is good because of that. Defense has played really good, and ETN's been serviceable. That's what's made him good. So having Brian Thomas Jr., who's should play better, having Travis Hunter, who had that awesome catch, like, just don't play him on defense, guys. Come on, you don't have a second receiver. Play him on offense. He got burnt on a pass to the end zone, but luckily safety, I think, saved his butt. Just put him on offense. That's why you draft a guy number 2 in this day at NFL. That I just see his trajectory going up. Mainly, it's just a gut confidence, but he's not having to do as much. But he's not. He's still kind of scary. But sometimes fantasy is about that gut feeling, and that's where I'm rolling with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I could say Tua fanboy, I could say Penix. I love Penix, Aaron, all these guys here. But at some point, you just CJ Stroud was the guy that came to mind. I picked him up. He's what saved me from my Lamar problem. He was on the waivers. Geez. I grabbed him because people were dropping him because he was stinky.
He lit it up last week.
Bonkers.
Yeah, I like T-Law as that pick, and just watching him emerge the way he has this year. He has probably a better supporting cast around him, probably a better coaching staff around him as well. I also think that when you're maybe indirectly threatened that if you can't produce, we're going to look for a replacement next year, then it kind of forces you to step up the game. But yeah, that game was amazing to watch. And even the last play of the game, with Trevor Lawrence getting tripped up by his own lineman, falling to the ground,
falling down,
mustering himself back up, and almost in a sense willed the team to the victory at the last moment. It was amazing. That was a fun game to watch, regardless of which side you're rooting for. But out of this group, I would of course like to see Trevor Lawrence and Sam Darnold do well, and I think those would be great picks. I'm going to go rogue a little bit here. I'm going to go Dylan Gabriel from Cleveland. He only has one game as a sample size at this point. Hasn't had much of a chance to play until this point because Flacco was there. They benched him. They bring on Gabriel. Flacco now with a new team. But Dylan had, he looked confident against Minnesota. He looked like he has that pocket presence as a quarterback. He threw for 2 touchdowns. I think the only knock against him right now that I'm seeing is that he's checking down the ball a lot. So that's why your tight ends, your running backs are getting some uptick in usage at this point. I think once he gets a bit more confidence, he's going to start airing it out. I'm interested to see where he goes. I'm not saying you start Dylan because I personally would rather have Sam Darnold or T-Law as my starter before I would Gabriel. But if you got a stash position on your roster, might be worth holding on to him or just at least kind of looking at him over the microscope the next few weeks to see what happens. Let's move on to the running backs list. Again, rostered under 50% against most standards. Michael Carter, Arizona. Brian Robinson, San Francisco. Kenneth Gainwell out of Pittsburgh. Caleb Johnson, also out of Pittsburgh. Kendre Miller, New Orleans. Tajay Spears. And then you've got that situation in L.A. between Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins. So, Adam, anything out of the running back committee here look like something you'd want to stash or start?
I'm going with the stash category because my stash last week became a start, and I believe Susan's going to talk about my stash start from last week. I was so excited. I made the right choice, but I'm throwing a dart. I've got him sitting on my bench. I drafted him and I benched him in Tajay Spears. You knew he wasn't going to play much coming right off the injury, right into the game last week. But I think if they want the offense to be a little faster, they're going to need both running backs, and he's going to be the once he gets to game speed, he's going to have a role. And when you get to week 8, you need somebody who has a role. I started Kendre Miller this week. Okay. You don't want to start Kendre Miller, but Tajay Spears probably. I mean, Kendre Miller's getting points. It's kind of surprising. So we're not talking about him, but Tajay Spears, once he gets up to game speed, I believe he's going to get you some of those in PPR leagues, especially some catches and stuff out of the backfield. That he's going to be a guy. I mean, you look in 23, he had 70 targets out of the backfield last year. He didn't do as well. He only had 35, but I see that being his role, especially with the young quarterback who's going to probably dink and dunk a little more. But now having that speed guy that he can dink and dunk to, stash him. You're not playing him this week. Don't play him yet. Think about that.
Fair enough. And Susan, Adam alluded to one of those players here. What do you got for us?
I do want to say one thing about Kendre Miller. We're not going to dive deep in him, but his snap percentages and his touches are going up. He's had double-digit touches for the last 2 weeks. Kamara is obviously an older running back. Taysom Hill was back, but I don't think that they're going to start using him the same way that they have. I mean, he was a running back basically. There were several seasons where Taysom Hill was a running back / tight end. So I don't think they're going to be using Taysom Hill that way, even though he's coming back. Kendre Miller is the younger back there. The older team just didn't like him for some reason. And he's going to start getting more touches. So if you're the Kamara manager, just make sure you're paying attention to that. If you need somebody, watch it. I had to start Walker and Charbonnet in Fantasy Turf War this last week.
Oh, wow.
I won still, but I won this week, but I had to start them both. And so it can be productive if you really, really needed to. But
the tandems,
anyway, so I wanted to talk about Michael Carter. Amari DiMercato is not going to be playing football probably after. I would not be surprised if the Cardinals cut him after what happened. He had so little playing time in general, and then to do the thing with the ball. I mean, I went on my rant earlier to not protect the ball, literally cost the team that one thing cost the team the game.
Yep.
It turned into, it would have been a touchdown, but the defense was able to stop the Cardinals from scoring from the 1 or wherever it was they placed the ball. So he literally cost his team the game. And the other guy there is Michael Carter. He had 18 attempts. The volume is gonna be there. And when you're needing somebody for fantasy football to just put in place because there's injuries or bye weeks, what you want is volume, and the work for Michael Carter will be there.
Yeah, I love both of those takes on both those players. We thought Benson would be the heir apparent in Arizona, and of course, then he went down. So then next person up, and so I think a lot of teams are having to deal with that situation. But Michael Carter feels like it's been the person that they're going to endorse at this point, especially after the faux pas at the goal line after a fantastic run and then blows it at the end. So again, people don't forget about that too easily. And on Tajay Spears, I always thought that he was going to be King Henry's replacement when he moved on. And I was excited to see him get the reins, and then they brought in Pollard. So I would also like to see Tajay succeed in Tennessee. He definitely has the skill sets to do it, but time will be the right storyteller of that one. I do want to talk a little bit about the LA Charger running back situation. We talked about Omarion Hampton being hurt, so he's going to be gone for some time. Najee Harris out. Well, then who do you have? They've been having to go to the well and now to the practice roster. And I see a lot of mixed messaging here. So we want to be transparent that both Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins are both only rostered about 1%. Somebody's going to get some of that share of the starting lineup. Odds are it's probably going to be Haskins. However, I know that Harbaugh has been a Vidal fan. So I think he's got some leg room. Both of them have possibilities. Right now, I say you probably want to leave both alone. if you're going to take a stab at it, choose which one you want and hope you're on the right side of the fence. But right now, even after the game, they moved Vidal back to the practice roster, and they're already talking about bringing him back on. So, again, more posturing this week. So if you see an NA beside somebody's name, it just means that there's some movement taking place, probably being shifted between practice roster and the regular roster. But that's pretty normal. We should get some clarity before the weekend on that backfield. But I think whoever it's going to be should be pretty valuable commodity at that team, on that team, as long as they can also catch from the backfield. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver cores here. There's a lot here to work through. Out of this list, some people appearing on the list again from prior weeks, but again, rostered under 50%. Trey Tucker from Vegas, Hollywood Brown, Kansas City, Darius Slayton, the Giants, Ayuk, one of those sneaky ones that is coming off an injury pretty soon from San Fran, Tyquan Thornton from Kansas City as well, Mooney from Atlanta, Kendrick Bourne had a blowout game against the Rams for San Francisco. And then we've talked about Torrey Horton before. But again, Susan, out of this list, anything to highlight?
Yeah, I'm looking at Kendrick Bourne for the 49ers. He didn't get a touchdown and was still like, what was 120 yards or something, like 14 targets or something. It was 11 targets because he and Jake Tongas, the tight end, got the same number of targets. In my brain, I remember that. So you want to, I'm chasing that because Pearsall and Jennings are both still questionable. Mm-hmm. Jennings dealt a lot with injury last season. I know when he played, he was doing all right. This season, he's dealing with injury, and when he's played, he has not been great. I think that Kendrick Bourne is coming for Jennings' role. So especially based on that showing last week, he was being peppered with targets, and I think he's going to be a decent spot start for if you need him. If you're dealing with injuries here. Now, if Jennings and Pierce are both full goes and are practicing all week, I'm not gonna end up playing. I'm not gonna play Bourne. But if they don't go, or one of them doesn't go, then yeah, I'm gonna be, and I absolutely need somebody. I'm gonna be putting Bourne in my lineup.
Even the announcers in that game last week were like, "It's Bourne again!" Like they were surprised that it kept going to Kendrick the whole game the way they did between him and Tongas. Yeah, Adam, who pops up on your list?
Nobody. When we did the pre-show, I was like, I don't want any of these guys. Like, I do like Bourne if he plays in that situation because he just looked like the only guy they're going to throw to, and he looks like one of those system kind of guys. This is where he's going to be really good. Yeah, I threw out Torrey Horton again, just for everybody to keep their eyes open for him as he only plays about 49%, 50% of the snaps. He played 30 to 55 snaps this week, but he's looking, when he plays stronger. He had 13 yards per reception last week. He's doing some of their punt kick returns. I forget which one it is, but Cooper Kupp's not looking anything that great for them. And he could start sneaking in as the season progresses because Kupp has this thing where he likes to get injured every now and then. So just keep an eye on him. But if you have the bench to stash, Horton's a young, quick receiver that a couple of those grabs he had looked for that 21-yard. He had a 21-yarder last week, and they look pretty daggone good and within that offense as they are picking up that passing game. And people are going to start honing in more on JSN. Like JSN is, to me, I rank him usually right behind Puka. I think he's that good. Like that's where I've been putting him the last couple of weeks. That was the first time I got brazen and did it was last week, and he didn't have as good of a week. This week, just week 5. But I think he's going to fill into that number 2 role, and it's going to look pretty good for him. Hopefully, towards the mid to later part of this year, Dynasty people, you better have him. But I could see it coming with a rise in snap count coming. It hasn't risen yet. It's been about the same, but it should come in these upcoming weeks.
Well, that's the phenomenon.
Typical for rookies.
Right. Rookies, but then when you have the alpha dog who's overachieving, you're going to start bringing up the rest of the receiver core because they're going to have to account for the alpha. And so I think Torrey Horton is one of the benefactors in a situation just like that that when he gets more experience under his belt, more games, more trust, I mean, the numbers I think will follow for sure. I was actually impressed with the play of Tyquan Thornton from Kansas City in that game last week. He's now starting to develop a fantasy floor for fantasy points. This is Mahomes' downfield go-to guy right now. If it's not Worthy, it's going to be Tyquan, and Tyquan's been getting a lot of the deep balls, and he's got good hands, and he fits the system. He's got 3 touchdowns on this early part of the season as well. Kansas City's got a soft schedule coming up, so there's going to be opportunity, I think, there, because Mahomes is probably going to want to start trying to put people away early in the games, and so he's gonna lengthen the play field by drawing people deep a bit. So I think the only drawback on Tyquan is that you have so many receivers to throw to, so many people coming back from injuries sometime here shortly. That would be the drawback. But if you need a fill for a short term, there is a ceiling, there's a floor right now for him. It's about 10 points or so, 8 to 10 points per game is where I'm seeing that happy spot right now. The list of tight ends is actually pretty small. It's been small for quite some time, though. Really only 4 of them on this week's show to even talk about. Evan Ingram from Denver, Harold Fannin from Cleveland. He's popped up early in the season. Mason Taylor from the Jets, and then a kid that you don't hear very much about, AJ Barner. So, Adam, anybody on that list appeal to you?
Last year, I loved AJ Barner. He was like, nobody knew who this kid was. I love tight end. Like, I have a tight end U shirt that I always wear because JJ Wayne hates tight ends. When we do our show, he's like, oh, tight ends, we got to talk about them. I love tight ends. It's like my favorite position. It's like the line. It reminds, because I love linebackers. It's like the linebacker size guy on there that still does something athletic. And I liked AJ Barner in the situation, but he wasn't that good. I mean, and so coming into this year, you're like, hey, they drafted that super athletic rookie. He's going to be the Arroyo. He's going to be a stud. He's healthy. And everything was pointing north. And then all of a sudden, the rookie's been just around. And Barner last week showed out. 7 receptions, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns. The week before, he had a touchdown on 3 receptions. He literally has only had 1 incomplete pass thrown his way this year. So his catch radius is doing pretty good. He's 16 targets, 14 catches. But for a tight end, you're looking at who is getting the touchdowns. That's the big difference in some of these guys. I mean, you look at Tucker Kraft, stud touchdown, and then we thought he was the next big thing. And that's going to be what you got to follow. So right now, he's hot. I'm following him where he's going to head. I mean, we talked about Harold Fannin earlier this season because he's getting a bunch of targets and so you just follow the next hot thing at tight end and stream. Unless you drafted McBride, then you got to play him and hope. Or if you finally got Bowers, and my season is ruined. But anyway, the
last 2 weeks for AJ Barner were pretty good. It's like, how many consecutive weeks is it going to take for the rest of fantasy football to catch up and say, oh, maybe I need him, or maybe I need to stream him? So I think it's going to be interesting where he goes. But I was surprised when I saw the numbers from the last couple weeks, like you highlighted, Adam. Susan, does anything surprise you out of your person?
So I'm looking at Mason Taylor for the Jets. He's talking about linebacker that can catch. So Mason Taylor is 6'5" and 250 pounds. Like, jeez. He is huge. And the last 2 weeks, he has started, Fields has started to target him more. He had 7 targets on week 4, 12 targets last week against Dallas. That turned into 5 receptions and 9 receptions. He hasn't gotten a touchdown yet, but he is there to be a release valve for Justin Fields. And Fields needs it. And he has thrown to his tight ends before. We know that he's okay. He's doing that. And I'm going to follow that. I mean, he had in PPR 17, almost 18 fantasy points. He's finished in the top 12 the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
So, and next week in week 6, they're playing Denver. So Garrett Wilson is going to get Surtain. and
Yeah.
that's going to leave Mason Taylor open to be there for targets for Fields. So I am taking that. And the nice thing is Taylor has a week 9 bye, not a week 8. So you can pick him up this week and one, I think, play him this week, and 2, you have somebody for Bye-Mageddon during week 8.
Yeah, at the Jets, you've got a two-person show as far as I consider when it comes to receiving. That's Garrett Wilson and now Mason Taylor coming out of nowhere from Good Prodigy. And it is Fields' release valve whenever he's gotten pressure. So he's gotten a lot of heavy usage recently. And out of the rest of this group, I've had my share of Evan Ingram before. I'll pass on that. His numbers only get inflated when he catches a touchdown. I was high on him early in the season, but I think I'll pass on the rest of that group. But I do like you guys' picks out of that tight end class. All right, let's move into our start and sit segment with Little Jimmy. So again, on our weekly show, we've got a segment called Start and Sit. We have our little token Little Jimmy coin that we flip, and props to Tank Talk Podcast for the inspiration. We've got a new player for Little Jimmy to flip with today. Every week, you have a couple players. You just cannot decide who to play. To save you the pressure, the agony, we encourage you to use our Start and Sit coin featuring our character called Little Jimmy. Flip him. Whatever he lands on, do with that player. If it goes well, congratulations. If it doesn't go well, it's not your fault. Little Jimmy did it. So the worst thing you can do is just not flip the coin at all. But if you've been watching our shows, Little Jimmy has been right 4 weeks in a row. So it might be time for you to consider listening to Little Jimmy. Better yet, you can get your own Little Jimmy Start and Sit coin at fantasyturf4.com or message any of us on social media and we'll get you connected. It's only $5 plus shipping and it goes directly to supporting the cause. So again, we're looking at a new player this week and it hits us at the right time with some interesting dynamics. We're talking about Keenan Allen, receiver from the LA Chargers, on the season, 29 receptions on 44 targets, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. That places him in that about wide receiver 40-ish, plus or minus. They're at Miami this coming weekend. But if you're looking for comparable players with similar rankings, you're looking at Michael Pittman, Stephon Diggs, Jordan Addison, Calvin Ridley. So that's kind of what you're dealing with if you're looking for somebody that are comparable in terms of rankings. But, Adam, what do you think? What is Little Jimmy telling us to do this week with Keenan?
He is telling us to sit him.
Sit him. Okay. So, Susan, you've heard the news. Can Little Jimmy be wrong? Or are we going to go 5 weeks in a row being right?
So, man, that was hard. I was all prepared for a start decision from the coin. So here's the argument for is I would probably be starting Diggs over Allen. I'm talking about who else was in that ranking list.
Yeah.
I would start Diggs over Allen if you're having to make that decision. But all those other guys, I'm starting Keenan. I'm just going to disagree with Little Jimmy on this. He's still getting the targets. He's almost at double-digit targets every week. The argument, and I think where people would say they want to sit Keenan Allen, is that the Chargers O-line is now a problem. Joe Alt went down, who is the heart and soul of that offensive line, protecting Herbert. And now we've got backup running backs. So is the offense going to be able to move the ball the way that they want to? It's a question mark. However, they are going to have to make up for the fact that Hampton is not there. Their run game is not going to be as strong. So you could see even higher targets, but out of that starts at list, the only one I'm starting over Allen is Diggs. So I think I'm going to have to disagree with Little Jimmy this week.
That's fair. We can do that. If we call it the right time, we look like geniuses, don't we? Adam, your take about little Jimmy. Is little Jimmy right?
I'm with Susan. I love Keenan Allen. He's one of my favorite players of the last decade just because I loved him. But I think he's getting the targets. He's getting the looks from that time, and they're going to pass more. And I think in a few weeks, we might even argue that Addison might play over him. Addison looks good coming back. But yeah, Diggs, I'm starting over him. Ridley, no. Pittman, you're praying. I've wanted him to be good for so long. But yeah, I disagree with little Jimmy, especially they're playing the Dolphins.
Well,
this week in particular.
Who played the Dolphins last week, and what did they do? Carolina. They ran the ball for 200. 200 yards rush.
Injuries. I mean, is Kamani Vidal going to run for 3? He's not. Rico Dowdle, I would argue, is better than both of those guys. And that's the same.
When I look at this list, especially when Diggs and Addison pop out, like you guys had called attention to, their big numbers have only come in the last couple weeks. So it's almost distorting the rankings because Keenan Allen's been that consistent performer every week. He's going to get you some points. Sometimes he'll pop off for a touchdown, double-digit fantasy points for you, but at least he's got that floor. Well, Diggs started off really slow, and Addison, of course, couldn't start. So, yeah, I would say the argument for playing Keenan is, what else are they going to do? If they have a missing running game, they're going to have to throw, and I would trust Herbert to throw. When they played week 5, I saw a lot of passes going to Quentin Johnson. I expected that. He's the speedster. He's the young kid, but in time of need, Herbert trusted Allen. You need that third down conversion. He went to Allen, and so he's going to get opportunities, I think. And as we talked a couple of weeks back of, well, what constitutes little Jimmy being right or wrong? I think it's a matter of going back to, well, what is his projection? And is he exceeding the projection? Is he well exceeding the projection, or just not hitting it at all? And I think Keenan Allen's projections have always been rather low this season. And so you would not expect to see that out of somebody who's going to be, in that type of receiving core with Herbert at the helm. So I would
only 9.1 fantasy points are the projection for that's a half PPR.
Yeah. So
that's half
you
PPR
would say that he's either going to have to score a touchdown that will get him most of those points, or get a lot of yards, because there's no middle ground there.
He could do both.
Well, yeah, if he doesn't get very many receiving yards, of course, right, or catches, I just see that he's probably going to exceed those under the game script, I think, coming up. So I'm probably going to have to side with little Jimmy. I think we're going to call your bluff this week, and I think we're going to be right, and you're not, little Jimmy. So I'm sorry about that, but maybe little Jimmy's going to have last word. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's check out the comments side to see, is there anything we would like to pull into our conversation? I picked up AJ Barner. There you go. Longtime listener. Thanks, Sharon.
It's a quiet week, so people feel free to, if you're listening to us afterwards, pop in Tuesdays at 9:00 and give us some questions to go about. I think everybody's just so devastated because everybody's hurt, so you're just picking up whoever you can.
I'd love to see comments out there of like, here, I've got these players. Who do I choose? We'll entertain those questions too. I've got to start 3, and I got these I've got to choose from. Those are all fair game questions as well. So we'll keep looking at the chat room on the side to see if is there anything else coming up or not. But in the meanwhile, I think we're going to end up skipping the trivia time this week. Let's go ahead and tell us. I will convey what the trivia question was, but I don't have the information on who actually won. But for the record, the question was, which tight end was the first ever to record over 1,000 receiving yards in 3 consecutive seasons? The choices were Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, or Greg Olsen. I actually had to correct the commission on this one when we saw the initial show notes, because the right answer was, in fact, Greg Olsen. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna figure out exactly what what that's going to look like in terms of who won, who didn't win, and then from there, we're going to assign a new trivia question next week. So we're going to get dialed up with Commish there. And Kara, yes, I saw that. You talked to us last week on the show, longtime listeners, again, Diggs. She was wrestling whether or not I should actually drop Diggs or not because he had a lot of personal stuff going on, and all of a sudden he lit it up. You were exactly right. So good job there. My statement was at that point in time as well, have a plan. And if your plan is to believe that he's going to turn things around, or any of your players on your team going to turn things around, might be worth holding on to a bit until you know that the game plan is not going to involve your players. But I think that was a great call, Kara, except you dropped him. Oops. Might still be out there. Okay.
Yeah, if somebody didn't pick him up, go get him.
Yeah, really quickly. Hope you have a high waiver wire priority.
Well, and that's
I'd nab him in a New York minute.
For anybody who's chasing ambulances, you're going to be towards the back of the pack with the waiver wire pickups every week. That's just the way it is. So you have to be tactical about when do I use it, when do I not use it. Don't blow your waiver wire pick to move to the back of the class for somebody you weren't going to be keeping very long. May not be the wise move there. All right. Okay, let's wrap things up. So that's going to do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us. But if you feel like you got value out of this show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share the show with everybody you know. Bring a fan next time. Susan, where can people find you?
I am on Instagram and on TikTok at gridiron_god. Oh yeah, this side at gridiron_goddess. I have been taking a little bit of a hiatus because I was traveling for the last 10 days, but we will get that content ramping back up as the season keeps going.
Adam, you can. I'm on. It's a joke for us because it's backwards on all our screens. Am I pointing correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
FantasyCouriers.com
has the links to all our stuff. Listen to our podcast, wherever we get podcasts. Our podcast right now, just because of time and everything, leads into this podcast. We do all the Sunday games and the Thursday games as part of our discussion. We record before Sunday, and then we toss the podcast to us here tonight. You can check out anything I write on Fantasy Pros. I try to put links on the Fantasy Couriers Facebook page, and anywhere you hear podcasts, you can see our pretty faces.
All right,
or hear our pretty faces.
And of course, I'm Cameron Bassett, supporting Shelter Dogs for Veterans. And you can find me here on Fantasy Turf 4 Live every Tuesday. And as Cory, our commission, closes out each week, be excellent to each other, be kind, and until next time, keep moving forward. See ya.